You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and here with me, as always, is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Great to be back for another season.
Yeah, so here we are, season 11 of the show. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary, started back in the summer of 2015. Looking forward to the 2025 Wilson football season, which I know, Justin, it's the end of February. You know, we're 6 months away from real games. Kind of always feels weird this time of year to be diving back into high school football because we've been focused mostly on pro football, NFL playoffs.
Yes, I have.
Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, which I know you're super happy about. But we do like to revisit, about 3 months removed from the previous season to just kind of come back and let everyone know we're here and that we will be here to talk Wilson football in 2025. We want to kind of put a final wrap up on the 2024 season very quickly, talk about some accolades for that team before we fully focus on 2025 and talk about very briefly that schedule. But Justin, we have a guest here with us this evening.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, both of us are very familiar with our guest, and it's someone that we wanted to get on the program. He does have Wilson football experience, albeit a little bit before the high school level. He played for me and Coach Fernsler at Wilson West, the first year of Wilson West. Then you stole him away.
We did.
From us, from the football program. But we're
and
happy.
I still hear about it every fall.
I let you know all the time. So here with us this evening is Wilson class of 2015, Matt Guenter. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, excited to be on the show. Thank you guys for having me.
So Matt, I mentioned we lost you in the football community because you went to Coach Raffoff and the water polo team and swimming. I remember when he told me, I was very disappointed to see that, to lose an athlete of your caliber from the football program. But you have had an immense success across the athletic landscape. We're going to talk about your time at Wilson and now your professional athletic pursuits here shortly. But we really appreciate you joining us to talk on the Bulldog Hour tonight.
Yeah, of course. No, excited to be here. Excited to hear about the Wilson football season. And yeah, just excited to chat later.
All right. Yeah, we're going to take a few moments here just to wrap up the 2024 season before we talk to Matt about everything he has going on in his professional athletic life. He is a professional triathlete. So it's very, very interesting topic that we cannot wait to talk about with him very shortly. First up, though, the only thing we're really going to talk about 2025 tonight is the schedule, and it's really easy, Justin, because all it's doing is flipping from a year ago. We got no new opponents. We're not going to any new places or anything like that.
It is nice. I don't remember the last offseason where we didn't have at least a little bit of suspense with the schedule. So
right,
not
curiosity.
Having suspense is a good thing here.
Yeah, so we're just to refresh everyone's memory, I know last year we got delayed to Saturday. We do not have any Saturdays scheduled as of right now. Not looking forward to playoffs or anything like that. Just the 10 regular season games, all Friday evenings, starting on August 22nd. That is the home opener when I'm most likely youth night is going to be against Cheltenham, who now we've played the last 2 seasons. Then we get to travel to Plymouth White Marsh the next week. Only 4 road games this year because if you remember, we only had 4 home games last year. So flipping everything means we're only leaving Gursky 4 times.
Yeah, hopefully we will not have to make a Best Buy run on that trip to Plymouth White Marsh,
right.
But we'll see.
No more emergency runs for us at any point of the season, not just the beginning. But then there's back-to-back home games September 5th and 12th against Nazareth and Reading High. Obviously, that Nazareth game is going to be a big one because not only because of the way the game ended last year, but also because their big-time recruit quarterback, he's back, and we're going to see him at Gursky.
Yeah, he's still there. Oof, man.
Then LL schedule starts with Reading High at Cedar Crest, one of our favorite trips, Justin, every time it comes around. Host the rival Governor Mifflin Mustangs. Go to Hempfield to start October 3rd. No Sugar Bowl trip this year, Justin. We are hosting the Penn Manor Comets on October 10th. The last road game in the regular season is October 17th at McCaskey.
Hey, McDonald's maybe, right?
And then finally, the regular season finale is against the Manheim Township Blue Streaks on October 24th. All right, so that's it. That's all we got to talk about 2025. We don't want to talk about much leading up to the 2025 season personnel-wise, coaching and players, because there's nothing that's really been determined at this point. But we do want to take a moment and thank our sponsors. Presented this season, of course, Mike Drago Sports, May's Sandwich Shop, and White Star Tours, as well as our individuals with the Miller family, Andy Herr, and our 3 anonymous donors. Probably the most recent Wilson football thing you may have noticed posted was just yesterday afternoon. We congratulated Kiernan Melagrana, the head athletic trainer with the Wilson Sports Medicine. She was one of the service award recipients from the National Athletic Trainers Association. So we wanted to send our congratulations to her for, service award is a pretty nice thing to receive. It's touching on years and years worth of volunteer service, advocacy, and professional activities across the athletic training landscape.
It's it's a great honor, obviously, for Kiernan, but it's also a huge win for Wilson in the sense of, just to have one of the best, kind of running the show there in the AT department for Wilson, and all of the Wilson athletes and the coaches, working with those athletes and all of that. It just, sometimes flies under the radar, but it's definitely one of those things that is helps make Wilson successful to the level that it is. So congrats,
absolutely,
Kiernan. She's the best.
Yes, thank you so much, Kiernan, for your years of dedicated service, and congratulations on the 2025 Service Award. All right, so lots of accolades came out for the football seniors and the 2024 team since our last show in mid-November. Just want a quick touch on that and congratulate our LL first team All-Stars, Maddox Gruber, Carell Akings, Michael Glover, and Derek Reiniger. Then defensively, first team All-Stars, Maddox also was named to that team, as well as outside linebacker Christo Hunsaker and Ramel Gaston. Maddox obviously had a fantastic year, and he was singled out by the LL League as the co-outstanding back of the year, the outstanding offensive back of the year, and first-team quarterback and defense. So just a huge year for the senior quarterback and athlete who also just helped lead the basketball team to back-to-back county championships. So an incredible season from Maddox. Second team LL, junior offensive tackle Jesse Etchberger on offense, and on defense it was junior defensive back Chase Herb, and Christo also got the nod as a punter. A bunch of honorable mentions.
Was it the township game where Herb just played absolutely out of his mind?
He was basically spying Clancy at running back and just filling. Yeah, he was a player of the week for that as well. A bunch of honorable mentions across the offensive and defensive landscapes as well. Jaden Carpenter, Anthony Geloso, Avery Manara, Christo Hunsaker, Carell Akings, and Monty Greer on offense. And then defense, Junior Catul, Derek Reiniger, Cam Zulinger, EJ Brownback, Brady Klein, and Chase Herb. One of the things that I think I need to point out, besides the all-academic team is being thrown up, there's 2 of those, and it's always great to see our Wilson athletes on academic teams. It shows that they're getting it done in the classroom as well as on the field. So congratulations to the Berks County football coaches academic team. How many are up there? It looks like 14 made that all-academic team, including Peterson, Akings, Glover, Kramer, Monty Greer, Brownback, Etchberger, Kuck, Aliza, Reiniger, Gruber, Klein, Zulinger, and Hunsaker. And then there was one last, and this is the final one, the LL Academic All-Stars. First team, Christo Hunsaker and Michael Glover. Second team, Cam Zulinger, Cole Peterson, Cam Kuck, Jackson Becker, Jesse Etchberger, Brady Klein. And honorable mentions go to Larry Aliza, EJ Brownback, and Carell Akings. So getting it done on and off the field, Justin. So just a great season for the Bulldogs. People were wondering what they were going to do all year long, and they blew expectations out of the water.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun to cover. Just from our vantage point, they were great to work with. They were great for the interviews and everything, but they really did an awesome job, and they came a long way. I remember, that Cheltenham game, it was hot Saturday afternoon, all that stuff. Yep. And they played well, but also there were lots of questions, and then they they continued to get better. And, you know, you had the heartbreak of the Nazareth loss, but they like rebounded and man, just played outstanding.
They got
the rest of the way
better each week. They had the biggest jump between week 1 and week 2, which is what Doug always says. Because that Plymouth White Marsh game, I was not sure how that was going to go after watching the first game against Cheltenham. But then even with the setback against Nazareth, each week they were getting better, and they played incredible against Manheim Township to end the year, and then in the playoffs. It was tough to hang with that Harrisburg team. Was stacked, just absolutely loaded. But all the other games, what a fantastic season. So 2024 is one we'll remember for a long time.
Yep.
All right, so enough of our football backlog. We're going to dive in headfirst now with our guest, Matt Guenter. I threw up an image here now, just an overview of who Matt is. I mentioned at the introduction, Matt is a class of 2015 Wilson graduate. At Wilson High School, he played water polo, coached by Justin Raffoff. He was on the swimming team as well as track and field, and he was a captain 4 times for Bulldogs athletic programs. He then moved on to Penn State, graduating the class of 2019, where he was a member of the Nittany Lion swimming team as well as club triathlon. And the big ones here we're going to get to when we talk about him professionally. He's a 2-time USA Triathlon national champion, and just was it last year or 2 years ago, the inaugural 70.3, can't even wrap my head around that, Happy Valley champion, the professional triathlete, and something we're definitely going to talk about, aerospace engineer, Matt Guenter. So, Matt, we'll bring you back in here. I want to talk about so many things that you gave to us to talk about, because it's a fantastic list. I think we should start at the beginning, though. Let's go back to Wilson. You mentioned 4-time captain. So you were a captain for, I'm guessing, water polo, swimming, and track and field then? Is that how that worked out?
Yeah, so water polo, I was captain both junior year and senior year, and then swimming and track and field, I was captain on my senior year. So.
And now, how did you get involved? Were you playing water polo earlier, like when you were younger, or is that something that came about once you got to high school?
Yeah, so growing up, I was in the pool when I was age 5. I was on the swim team at Green Valley, and I started playing water polo with Kingfish pretty soon thereafter, probably around the ages of 7 or 8. Though I did kind of every sport growing up. So I played part of Van Reed for all 6 years. Football, I played soccer before that, and I was part of the basketball team, and baseball, I played up until 8th grade as well. So I definitely tried to do as much as I could. I think my parents were driving me around to a lot of different places a lot of the time, and I was usually doing 2 sports every season, including my 8th grade year with you when I was, playing football with you, and then also playing water polo, getting ready for the decision of which one I would do in high school. And then, I added track and field when I was a junior in high school, just to spice things up a little bit more.
So didn't do the dual fall thing? You weren't running cross country while you were also swimming water polo?
I thought about it, especially my senior year after I had a pretty good, successful first year in track my junior year. And then senior year came around, and I really did consider trying to do cross country, and really I would just be able to do the meets for cross country as well as still playing polo. But as Coach Raffoff knows, my goal throughout all of high school was to win a state championship with the water polo team, and I really didn't want to put that at risk at all. And I knew as captain on the water polo team, so I needed to be there all, for every practice and for every game. So I did not do 2 sports that year. It would have been fun, but I definitely made the right decision since we did get that state championship.
Yeah, that was a great run. I mean, water polo team is always incredible. It seems there's so much success in the pool for Wilson Athletics, but getting that state championship when you guys were there together is pretty exciting.
That was a pretty satisfying
now,
one too.
Is that the one
awesome
that I watched
that was
on
the one
video?
You watched,
was that, yeah.
Preston in goal, and
yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was a fun memory. That was really cool. I mean, that was 10 years ago now. Being able to watch that on YouTube at the time, kind of a new concept to be able to watch that remotely. So that was pretty cool to be able to watch you guys win.
It's still there.
It's still
It is. I wouldn't know or anything.
Yeah.
No, don't.
Yeah,
revisit
someone told me.
Yeah. So, well, I feel like I have to tell this story because it's one that Justin and I talk about all the time. And I don't want to embarrass you, Matt, but it's literally one of the things I remember most about my coaching career. I'm sure you probably know where this is going.
I do.
So Matt was playing Wilson West football with Coach Fernsler and I over first year of West. Like I mentioned, Matt was on the 2010 West Middle School team. We had a very good team. I think we lost our first game that year and then didn't lose any for like the next 3 years. And it started with Matt's group. Matt's group of athletes was pretty darn good.
Yeah.
That graduating class, and we were practicing. Our field, both practice and game, wasn't available, so we actually practiced up on the fill land next to the softball and baseball field up there. So there was just equipment scattered everywhere, and we're practicing. I think 2-point. I think it was 2-point plays or short yardage or something. And Matt goes out for a pass, and next thing I know, I look over and he is running. I think it was neck first into one of the practice sleds, the cage, and I've never heard a middle school practice go so silent after Matt ran into this and was horizontal, parallel to the ground. He ran into this sled so hard, and you could hear a pin drop. Because I honestly, I thought he had broken his neck. I didn't know what to do. And it took a lot for Anton to be quiet.
Right.
Uh,
You're lucky he wasn't, whoa!
Yeah, I mean, it was dead quiet in everyone. And all of a sudden you just hear Matt laughing. Matt is laughing, laying on the ground. And that really lightened the mood because I thought Matt had seriously hurt himself. And obviously that was a mistake on our part, running plays to where that sled was. But Matt was fine, and look where he's at now. Do you remember that, Matt? Do you remember that?
I remember you telling the story more than I remember the moment itself. I remember laying on the ground there, and I feel like I needed to laugh because it was obviously an embarrassing moment. But I needed to get up quick. Because the longer I laid on the ground, the more of a fool I would look like, and the more I felt like I would have hurt myself.
I was so happy when I heard you laughing because I thought you were hurt, and I couldn't. I was just, oh my gosh, that field was a travesty to begin with. That was a rough place to have to practice for that entire year. But I just remember that and being like, oh my, thank you that he is okay because it was a wacky moment. But so I don't. Justin, is there anything you wanted to touch on at Wilson before we move on to Penn State and triathlon?
Just it was interesting. In that high school role where you're with the kids for multiple years, so having helped out with you and out at West, it's fun. You get to meet the kids, and it's I really like having some familiar faces when I start seeing them in the hallways up at the school and everything. But having that high school, and especially with polo, where it is more of a 9 through 12 kind of feel sometimes, getting those same athletes getting to spend 4 years, and honestly, between the youth polo programs and everything, longer than that. You got to know these kids oftentimes when they're in elementary school or middle school, and then you work with them all the way through high school. It was just a cool experience having Matt the whole way through. And the story he told about trying to go through the decision of what to do in that fall of his senior year, that exemplifies kind of how he was. He was, and I say was, and still is, but it's just my experiences with that of being thoughtful and thinking about what he needs to do to be the best, not just for himself, right, but for his team. And man, that year was special, and it was a lot of fun. And I mentioned to you before, I ran into your mom maybe a couple months ago, and we were even talking about how, man, that I'm sure you remember, but that season probably did come off the rails when we were out in Erie. And 100%. it was off the rails, and we just had that, that heart to heart kind of meeting in the parking lot, eating our peanut butter and jellies, and as a team, and got it together. And then to win that way, to beat an undefeated team. I think they were undefeated in that, in their pool to win it all. That was a special one. And
That was North Penn.
yeah, and the leaders of that team did exactly what you need leaders of a team to do. They led not just in the pool but out of the pool, and it was awesome. And Matt is a big part of that. So it was a lot of fun having kids like him.
I think that season I think about a lot, and it could be like it has all the episodes and all the phases that like a Disney movie goes through, and,
Yes.
and where you have like a good start, and then like you have one moment where you think it's all going to fall apart, and then like beating North Penn. And I mean, Coach Filer and Coach Raffoff's philosophy that entire year was defense first, and just see us like buy into that philosophy, and then hold the like you said, undefeated team to only 9 goals in that state final. And I think, I don't know if you know this, but that game was the only game all season where I didn't score a goal. And it was the only game where I didn't have to score a goal. Everybody else stepped up so well, and I think we all did our roles, and everyone was happy to do what they needed to do to make us win. And we had a lot of really talented people on that team, multiple people that went and played collegiately. And that it just it was a great ending to a great season. And I'm still close friends with all those guys, and we still chat weekly, monthly. And it definitely prepared me a lot for what was yet to come. And I look back on that state final as still, with what we'll talk about here, is probably the best moment of my athletic career up to this point. So
you're
something with a team is incredible, and it's an individual sport like triathlon, you don't quite get that feeling quite as much.
So you should be having your 10-year reunion coming up there, I guess, this year.
Yeah.
Then.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I haven't seen anything yet officially, but I don't know if our class president's gonna do that, but we'll see.
So before we jump into Penn State and triathlon and your professional pursuits, just tell us a little bit about your recollection of Wilson, like your time at Wilson. What do you remember most about your time at Wilson? Is it something you look back fondly on your high school career?
Yeah, 100%. I think it gave me a lot of opportunities, both athletically and academically, to be where I am today. There were so many sports that you could, decide to do, and I chose, water polo and swimming initially, and then added on track. And I think something I remember a lot is both with swimming and polo, like Coach Raffoff said, you had that, you're with them for the whole 4 years. And there's so many times that I remember going into my coach's classrooms, after school was complete, before practice started, and like watching film, or just like, catching up, just, being like what kids are to the coaches, and just, being that relationship was just super strong. And I felt like there were, they were my friends. They were great coaches. And academically too, I think I'm still very close with a lot of my teachers, especially like Coach Meyer, Senor Marquez, who I know is a principal now. I felt like whatever I needed to do, the tools were there to allow me to succeed. Just, giving me all the opportunities that I needed to, both succeed while I was there in school, but then also setting me up on a good path for after high school.
So after your time at Wilson ends, you went to Penn State, which is something that Coach Raffoff and I are very, very familiar with. So tell us about how you ended up picking State College to be the next place of your educational athletic career, and tell us how you got engaged with Penn State swimming and club triathlon.
Sure. Yeah. So initially, and I think Raffoff will know this, but I did not want to swim in college. I really wanted to play water polo. Unfortunately, there aren't many opportunities on the East Coast that are relatively affordable to play water polo. There's a lot of schools up in the Ivy Leagues that have polo, or places that didn't quite have the engineering program at the same price point that Penn State does. And if going into the college decision process to go to Penn State, just because it did not I wanted to do something different. My sister had gone to Penn State. I wanted to go somewhere different. And then I remember going up to State College. Actually, I'd gone to Virginia Tech the week before, went into their football stadium, and it was 60,000. And Virginia Tech has a pretty good football history, and it's, Enter Sandman. They definitely have their own set of tradition, and it was nothing compared to what I was used to. Going to the Penn State Stadium, going to Beaver Stadium, and just that electric crowd. And that wasn't a big part of what I wanted out of college. So the more I thought about it, I realized the easiest solution and the simplest solution was the right solution. So I was able to be a preferred walk-on to the swim team there. I had a difficult first season with the swim team at Penn State, coming from somewhere where I was a pretty talented swimmer in high school, being all state, and as well as polo, I was all state and all American in water polo. So I was used to being near the top, and I had never swam year round. I had never done the yardage that really prepped me to perform well at Penn State. And I had a difficult, relationship, I think, with the coaches. I initially was told I was going to be on a 2-week tryout, and then 2 months down the road, I still didn't know whether or not I was on the team. And as an 18-year-old, you can imagine that, I'm sure you guys are familiar, and all the high schoolers as well. When you're on a team, those are the people that you're with 24/7. There aren't a lot of time to do other activities outside of, a D1 program. You're there, you're with those people, you go to eat with them, you're rooming with them, you're going to classes with them. And I think those 2 months, it was difficult on me mentally, where I didn't know if I was good enough to be with all these people that had become my friends. So that kind of weighed on me, and I ended up having a decent season. I bettered my times from high school by a very small amount. After all the work that I put in, it felt like I would have gone faster, but between, sickness hitting me at the wrong time, being really fatigued by the end of the season, both physically and mentally, it didn't really end up being the season that I was really hoping for. So that summer, my sister gave me a hand-me-down, probably 1990 Schwinn bike. And I started riding around, the local Reading area. And then I went back, tried to stick it out for another couple of weeks on the swim team, made it 4 weeks, and kind of realized that this wasn't it for me. I remember I quit the swim team on a Monday morning, and I was going out for a run on that Monday afternoon, ready to see what triathlon could hold for me. So I played club polo at Penn State kind of as a little bit of a transitionary period until I really dove into triathlon. But by the spring of my sophomore year, I was pretty all in on triathlon, and seeing what I could do in that sport.
So that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because if you mentioned it in our communications, I missed it. I didn't know if you had tackled club polo at Penn State. I wasn't sure if that was something you had been involved in. So you spent a semester or a year with Penn State club polo?
Yeah, I played club polo both my sophomore and my junior year. My sophomore year, and I think you guys will both connect with this and find this pretty funny. My sophomore year, our tournaments, we had our regional championships at Villanova. And then there's also a tournament, I believe it was I think that one was at Notre Dame. Long story short, there was a tournament the same weekend that Ohio State came to visit Penn State in 2017. And if you guys remember that game, it's pretty famous for having a blocked field goal, return for a touchdown, and I was in a hotel room a couple thousand miles away. So by the time it got to my junior year, I remember actually for that weekend, I was still playing polo and doing triathlon at the same time. And we played a game, I think, that Saturday morning, and then I drove back for the whiteout, and then drove back on Sunday because I wasn't going to miss another whiteout. That moment, missing that Ohio State game was tough.
Yeah, priorities for sure.
Yeah. So so I played club polo for 2 years, and then I realized something that I've always kind of, similar to this whole cross country and water polo thing back in high school. If I decide I'm going to do something, I'm going to commit myself to it. I've never kind of been halfway in, halfway out. So I realized I needed to do triathlon 100%. And I also realized that I couldn't give the club water polo team the attention that it deserved. And there were other people that maybe were able to dedicate some more time to it. So I just kind of removed myself from that situation and kind of went all in on triathlon.
So you mentioned picking up the bike that your sister Lindsay gave you or handed down to you. what had you like? Was this something in your mind, triathlon? Like, what popped it? Like, was the bike just like,
Yeah,
here,
because
you
not
might
many
enjoy
people are
this?
like, hey, swimming is really hard. You know what I think I'll do is swim and bike and run.
Yeah, put them all together. So how did it come about?
Yeah, so I remember being in my differential equations class my freshman year of high school or freshman year of college, and I was reading an article on my phone about another Penn Stater who had won the national championship for triathlon, the collegiate national championship for triathlon in both the Olympic distance and the sprint distance. So there were two distances contested, and he won both of them on back-to-back days, which to that point had only been done one other time, which that other person has become an Olympian. And I remember reading that article and being like, this is something that like maybe I could do, because I was a half decent runner for the track team. I was, one of the top milers and 800 guys on the team. And then swimming, obviously, I'd done for so long and swam at the college level. So it was in my mind. I do remember in high school thinking at one point I want to do one of these like half Ironmans or actually at that point I'd been like, I don't want to do an Ironman, it's too long, and we'll talk about it later, but I still feel that way. Yeah, so it was always probably in the back of my mind. I think originally I thought about just doing it more leisurely, if that's a word you can do for a 5-hour event.
For triathlon, yeah, I'm not sure that's the
but yeah, I think as I saw who ended up being a really close friend, Mike, as I saw he captured both these national championships, I was like, why can't I give this a shot and see how good I could be.
So it was Justin, I believe, that brought to my attention. I don't know. I'd say maybe about 5 years ago. Matt, you probably know the timeline best. Of you won some. I think it was some of Blue Marsh Lake. Was there? Did you race in Blue Marsh or something related to that? Some swimming thing, right? Wasn't it?
He used to do the mile. Did they do a mile race
Like
out there? That was
Yeah,
back
water
in high
mile,
school,
yeah.
probably. Yeah.
So this was probably near your time, near the end of your time at Penn State, I'm guessing. And it was just like, hey, look, like I know you knew Matt, so like, hey, he just won this. So that was kind of, we have been friends on social media and be able to follow the things you were doing. But then I saw probably in the last 2 years, maybe even 18 months, you had a profile in the Penn Stater magazine. And that was really cool to open up, as an alumni and member of the Alumni Association. I get that, and I'm paging through and I'm like, oh my God, like I immediately sent a picture and I was like, Justin, look what's in my Penn State magazine. Look who it is. So how, I don't want to jump ahead. So when you were at Penn State, did you do club triathlon as a senior, or was that when did you join club triathlon? Was that just as a senior?
I know I joined it basically when I quit swimming.
Okay.
It took me a while to be brave enough to end up to go to any of the social activities. But that same sophomore year that I quit swimming, I did go to the national championships.
Okay.
So to qualify for the national championships for collegiate triathlon, you actually just have to do any single event. And there are very few, and that's usually in April. As you guys can imagine, it's very difficult to find an open water place to swim as part of a triathlon in the February or March timeframe in the Northeast. So I actually did a duathlon, which is a run, then a bike, then another run at Army West Point a couple weeks before. It was 36 degrees and sleeting during that. So it was a great first entry into the multi-sport world.
Great running weather.
Then, yeah. My first real triathlon was at the Collegiate National Championships. And I got, a taste of it. And, I was I think vice president of the Collegiate Triathlon team I think that was my senior year. Maybe my junior year, I can't really remember, but yeah, I was very heavily involved with the team. I was like a training coordinator, so I would help train the other members of the team. It was a small but mighty group. We probably only had 15 or 20 folks, but people of differing levels and abilities. But everybody, it was a college club where some people really wanted to compete and some people just wanted to meet other people, and it was a good mix. That definitely kept it fun.
How quickly did you realize that you could do this and could be really good at it?
I think Justin's gonna laugh at this, but I think with my personality, any other alternative doesn't really enter my mind.
If you're gonna do something, you're gonna be in 100%, and you're gonna probably do it.
Like not maybe this is a slightly negative way to think about it, but also I don't spend as much energy or time on things that I'm not as talented at. Like a funny story is had an internship my freshman year out of college, in this time where I was trying to decide, is swimming what I'm going to do the rest of my life? Am I going to do something else? And I was trying, getting involved with cycling at that time and into the triathlon. And the internship that I was at, they were really into golf and everyone was golfing. I remember I hit the driving range like 2 times and I was like, I'm relatively athletic. I've played a lot of sports growing up, and golf is a very skill-based sport, very difficult, very different than going out and doing a 3-hour, bike ride to get better. You have to work on the technique. And it just wasn't for me. So there was a slight chance that I might have gone down the golf pathway instead of going down triathlon. I think I made the right decision for myself in hindsight. But yeah, I think pretty early on, that national championships, right after that, my next race was at French Creek. So right down the road in Ulverson. And I got 3rd place in that race. And the first guy was a pretty accomplished professional. And then the 2nd place was a national champion at the amateur level. So I was 3rd behind them, and there was a decent amount of time behind them. But when I realized that was kind of where I fit within the standings, I thought that I could be pretty decent at it.
Which of the 3 parts do you think you're best at? Maybe it's not your favorite, but what are you best at?
Yeah, it's still swimming.
Okay.
Triathletes and swimmers, triathletes that grew up swimmers have a distinct advantage. So yeah, if you look at like where my rankings are, what my times compare, it still definitely is swimming. So unfortunately, it's probably that I get weaker as the race goes on. So in a lot of these big races that I've had over the years, it's a lot of looking over my shoulder during the last, especially the half of the run. Yeah, it's swimming's definitely my strongest discipline, and then cycling, and then running.
Is that the same way that you would say your favorite aspect is swimming is your favorite as well, or is that different? Do you like cycling? Do you like the running better than, like, what is your favorite part of the race?
Changes on the day. I would say cycling. I'd swam for so long. Running, I'd done in high school, and especially the distances that we run. Cycling was just something new when I got into it, and I think what I really enjoyed about water polo, and maybe Justin remembers this, but I would always look up new things to do, and I was drawing up plays on the back of my notebook and trying to show them to coach, or working on a fancy shot. Swimming, you don't get that. Swimming, it's like you swim, you try to get your fitness better, but technique wise, there's not really much to learn. Cycling has kind of been a breath of fresh air where you can go explore. You're not staring at a black line for the entire time that you're doing it. You can do it with friends. You can get to see some pretty cool places, push your body to different limits, and travel some pretty amazing places. Like one of my favorite rides, and probably the accomplishment that I'm most proud of, is I did a 175-mile ride around Lancaster County when I was during COVID. So there was no races during that time. And I trained out here for a while in Colorado, and drove back across the country. Went over after some of the fastest climb segments in the area, and then one Saturday I basically got up at 4:30, went down to the Adamstown area, and basically rode around Lancaster County as fast as I could, and ended up setting the course record. So yeah, it was a 9-hour, and I think I was out there for 9 hours and 28 minutes. And
is that all?
It was August 1st, and to show you how bad of a shape I was in at the end, it was one of the hottest days of the year. I think it probably got up to 95, 98. In the last 2 hours, I was shivering because my body was cold because it had kind of gone into shock. So yeah, it's a great sport.
Yeah,
It
very
sounds
memorable,
awesome.
huh? So, yeah, I'm ready to pick up and meet you out there. Justin and I will join you on your next training session for sure.
Yeah, that guy who drives the car behind and make sure you
right,
need
exactly.
anything.
Yeah, we'll change the bike for you if you need help with your tires or something. So maybe I'm bearing the lead here, because Justin and I, I'm sure, are probably on the same level of how much we know about triathlon. We know the 3 events, obviously, but can you just give us a quick overview of each segment? Is it always, so you mentioned swimming, is that always the first? What are the distances covered? Just kind of like the general overview for us and everyone listening.
Yeah, so swimming always goes first, and it's really a safety aspect thing. The last thing you want is people that are exceedingly tired diving into an open body of water. There's enough, in triathlon, there can be enough accidents and such that happen that they always put swimming first to keep it the safest. It's always followed by cycling, and then you always will run to finish the event. So some people also confuse triathlon with the Ironman at Kona in Hawaii, which is the World Championships. So that's like saying the Super Bowl is the same thing as football. The Super Bowl is, the capstone of football, but there are also many other events that go into getting you there. So one of the first questions people always ask me is like, oh, have you done the Ironman? And by that, they're generally meaning, have you raced at Kona? I have not done that race. I tend to stay on the shorter distance of things. So the Ironman, which I will also say, again, is not a distance that I've done yet, but that is a 2.5 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile run. So a marathon on the end. My girlfriend does those. I think it's way too long. So the most common distance that I do is half of that. So it is a 1.2 mile swim, a 56 mile bike, and then a half marathon of running, 13.1.
Oh, well,
And
it's only 13.1. Yeah.
Generally, that takes me about 4 hours. There's also an event that I prefer the distance. It's called the Olympic distance.
Okay.
Because it is the distance that is, contested at the Olympics. That's about a 2 hour race. So it's about what I just said, cut in half. So that is about a mile swim, 25 mile bike, and then a 6 mile run. So that's kind of like that. And then the sprint, which is half of that, are the shorter distance ones. Short distance is, an hour or two. And then the long distance is considered the half Ironman, which is a 4 hour race for someone of my level, and then an Ironman, which would be anywhere from 8 to, I think that the time limit is a 17 hours. So you have to finish it within 17 hours to be a finisher.
So there's essentially like 4 levels then. There's sprint triathlon, there's Olympic triathlon, there's standard
70 point. We call it 70.3.
70.3.
So half Ironman. Yeah.
Okay, and then the Ironman, which is the okay. And but now you've been incredibly successful doing that. You are a 2-time USA triathlon champion, and you also won the Pennsylvania Championship, the inaugural event in State College. Was that 2 years ago now, or almost 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would have been a year and a half. So it'll be 2 years this July.
Okay. Is that something you're like? When you decided to become a professional triathlete, how did that change the way you tackle training and what events you can or want to enter?
Yeah, so to give a little bit more context there, because it does get quite confusing. When in 2022, I went to USA Triathlon Amateur National Championships. So this is just an amateur event, and that's where I won. I won the Olympic distance on day one. It rained all night. It was flash flooding in Milwaukee, so we all went to bed thinking there was not going to be a race on day two. We woke up and checked our phones, and they had changed it from a sprint distance, which for me would have been about a 1 hour duration event, to a super sprint. So don't want to get too complicated, but it roughly was it was going to turn into a 30-minute event, because I think they wanted to minimize the amount of time people were in the water, just shorten the race, but we were all happy to at least have a chance to race. So I was able to win that event as well. So I became I think only second person maybe to win both the Olympic distance and the sprint distance in the same weekend at, again, amateur national championships. So there is no professional national championships.
Okay.
So I was the USA national champion for the amateur. And then, around that same time, I won half Ironmans at, Virginia. And then I won Virginia, then I won Age Group Nationals, which we just talked about. And then the next season I won at St. George, Utah. And then I went to Pennsylvania and won there. And kind of around that time, usually if you are a top 5 at the Age Group National Championships, which I had won, you are awarded your professional license. So you have to qualify to take that license. Not anybody can do it. You have to, place highly enough at one of these, highly reputed events to be able to take we call it the pro card or your elite license, and race professionally. So at this point, I had won 3 70.3s. When I saw that this 70.3 had gotten announced in State College, I really wanted to do it. As I talked about before, the swim team experience at Penn State was tough for me. And it just wasn't what I felt like I left something on the table. And I remember after I quit the team, one of my former teammates had told me that I wasn't athletic, because I couldn't cut it on the team, which definitely bulletin board material. So I wanted to go back, and this place had kind of made me the triathlete I am today, and motivated me and made me really excited to go back and try to win this inaugural version. And once I did that at State College, it was a quintessential State College summer day where it was 75 degrees, 100% humidity, off and on rain. It was brutal conditions. There was a tough headwind. If you've ever done any exercise in the State College area, there's always wind coming from one direction, and we basically went against the wind for the entire bike course. So it was just a very brutal day. But I won that race, across the finish line at the 50-yard line of Beaver Stadium, which
Nice.
was super cool. And at that point, I finished out the season going to Finland, competing at the Amateur World Championships. But in 2024, I knew that I was going to turn professional, and kind of test my mettle against the best of the best, because I'd done what I wanted to do at the amateur level, and it definitely excited me more to turn professional at that point.
So, Matt, if you want to give us the name and contact information for that person who said you weren't athletic, Justin and I will gladly forward the articles written about your championship triathlete. That's absurd. I can't believe someone would say that. But, I have up there just the Red Eagle, Penn State or Onward State. A bunch of newspapers have covered your success for all that you've been doing over the last few years. But what is your goal as a professional triathlete? Where are you trying to go? What are you trying to do? How does this relate? Like, is this something that you can get involved with? Like you mentioned the Olympic level. Is that something you have aspirations for? Is that something you could strive to get to?
So the Olympics have the shorter distance and in a only draft legal format. So similar to how swimming has a short course pool and a long course pool, in triathlon, generally for all the events I do, you cannot draft someone else on the bike. So when you're drafting on the bike, it usually takes maybe 30 to 40% of the energy to sit behind them as it does to sit in front. I mean, you can imagine they're kind of eating all the wind for you. They're blocking all the wind. You can sit on their wheel. So all the events I do are purely individual, where that's not allowed. You can't come within 10 meters or 12 meters of them. So it's a purely individual sport. At the Olympic level, it's called draft legal. So it is legal to do that. The distances contested are shorter. And I've done a lot of those races, especially when I was younger in college. And at this point, it's really difficult to get into the pipeline for the USA national team. To be blunt, when I was at that age, I wasn't a fast enough runner. It tends to be people will swim together, they'll bike, and because of the effect of the draft, they'll all come off the bike around the same time, and it turns into a big running race. And to give context, these people that are winning medals at the Olympics and competing at the Olympics are running under 14 minutes off the bike for a 5-kilometer race. So they're pacing, around the 4:30 per mile pace. I'm not quite at that level. I'd probably be in the high 15s off the bike. So it's not a possibility for me to go to the Olympics, especially because the events that I do tend to be the longer ones. So at this stage, what I'm trying to get out of it at the professional level, my next goal, I would say, is to compete and qualify to compete at the World Championships for 70.3 triathlon, which I guess you could say is like an Olympic level. There's probably 60 to 70 males that qualify each year. To do that, you need to place highly enough at one of these races. I'm definitely a little bit off, I would say, right now where I am. I'd like to do that maybe in the next 2 to 3 years is probably a good timeline for that. It's the level in triathlon is really rising, as is the science that's really connected to it. So the speeds that we're traveling at the bike, I'm generally averaging around 27 to 28 miles an hour on the bike. So as an example of the science at this level, people are going into the wind tunnel like where they would go to test, cars or airplanes or airfoils, to test their bike position to see if, does this helmet make you faster than this helmet would for the same amount of power output? Or, people are doing the same sort of test maybe on different shoes. So all that sort of stuff is expensive and time consuming, which makes it, difficult to do for especially, to get to that top level. So it's a difficult situation, because the people that have access to that are at that level, but to get to that level, you need to also have access to it. So I think for me, trying to qualify and go to a world championships. I've done it at the amateur level, and I've seen what it takes to get to there. I think maybe 7 or 8 minutes off at my last race when I did Michigan 70.3, which was in September, which was definitely my breakthrough race at the professional level. I was 12th place, only like 2 minutes out of the money. And it was by far the most complete performance I've put together as a professional. So yeah, that's what I hope to achieve here in the next couple of years. I will also say though, as you mentioned in the beginning, like I'm proud to be an engineer as well. A lot of people at this level, my typical training week, I've averaged over the last 8 weeks, probably 18 and a half or 19 hours of training per week, which, equals out about 2 hours a day during the weekdays. So an hour of workouts before work, hour of workouts after work. And then on the weekends, it's 4 to 5, both on Saturday and Sunday, in order just to compete, at this level that I'm at. So I'm proud of being able to balance that with a full-time job as an engineer. And it's not something that I want to give up. I really appreciate having a 401k, because it's something that these other triathletes that I'm competing against don't. And it gives me a bit of stability and also a different outlet to put my energy in. So yeah, we'll see what happens over the next couple of years. I've definitely made steady increases every year. It's easy to look at, some of these results that I've had in winning nationals or winning some of these 70.3s and feeling like it came out of nowhere. But I've, being very familiar with my training, and I've seen these like very small increases, season over season, year over year, which have got me to this point. So if I keep doing that for another couple of years, I definitely have faith that I can achieve what I want to achieve.
Couple points of clarification. Now, you said 401k is your savings, right? It's not the distance you're going to be biking the next time you come back to Singing Spring, right?
Exactly.
That's a retirement.
We'll see.
And also the other thing, man, just listen, analytics just ruining sports. No, the merger of science and athletics is awesome. That's amazing, and it's really cool to hear you talk about the wind tunnel. As an aerospace engineer, and all of us being loving science, that's a cool overlap between what you're doing in your athletic career, and then just the science involved around it is very awesome. So how can people help you? Because I know that's something like becoming a professional is something that requires a lot of money. Besides the dedication and commitment and the passion you have for the actual event itself, it's something that you're constantly searching for ways to get better and upgrade and be able to travel. So what is a way that people can help you? You've been kind enough to include us on your emails, and we've been able to see your updates on social media, but how can we let more people know about what you're looking for and how they can help?
Sure. Yeah. So I think finding me on social media and following me there, I try to provide updates both for, my family and friends and people that just want to follow the journey. Matt Guenter on Instagram, it's pretty easy to find. So that's a good place to start. I will say, I've been fortunate enough to have some sponsors, both, in the triathlon community as well as from the non-triathlon community in the Reading area. So Hebe Surplus, which is, a provider, a lumber provider and a surplus provider down in the Berks County area, have been fortunate enough to support me this year, which is great. I feel this connection. I'm doing this podcast with you guys or this show with you guys because I still feel this strong commitment and strong connection to my hometown. So it's really awesome to feel the same way, with you guys wanting to feature me on this show, or a local company wanting to support me in achieving my dreams. And honestly, to be blunt, like the amount of money and support that's going to like really help me push me over the edge probably won't be that much compared to what people expect. These wind tunnel trips or such, or travel to Utah, or this year I'm planning to go to Quebec, hoping to race over in Europe at least once, maybe twice. They do prove a little bit costly. So yeah, I've been able to I've been fortunate enough to partner with Hebes. I also have Sailfish, which is a triathlon wetsuit company. So what you wear in the water, your wetsuit, as well as a cycling shoe company, Veloveta, which is located here in Boulder, Colorado. So definitely been fortunate to partner with some people, and always looking to onboard a few more folks who are passionate about supporting a local athlete who, I'm just grinding, trying to achieve my dreams, and I'm always happy to promote those people that are interested in helping me to achieve my goals. So whether that's reaching out to me on Instagram or emailing me, I know Justin and Joe both have my email address, so I don't want to impose myself too much, but Joe, if anybody reaches out to you, passing it along.
No, I was
Absolutely.
gonna jump in and say when you were done, if you can't find Matt or you don't want to reach out to him directly, absolutely talk to Justin or myself. You can, where to find us, or you can just go through Bulldog Hour, or hey, stop and see me at the sandwich shop. Find Justin on the Wilson campus. We will absolutely get you connected with Matt, because we would love to see him find someone that is willing to help out and help him continue this professional pursuit, because it's really cool. I love seeing any Wilson graduate succeed in any. It doesn't matter if it's athletics related or not, but this is something really cool that Matt is out there, and it's something unique. That's why it was great to see you be featured so many different places and focus to so many different things, to see what you're doing. And obviously Justin and I, being former coaches of yours, take a lot of pride in seeing anyone that we coach or Justin's teaches going on and doing bigger and better things. So it's really cool what you've got going on, and we hope that people will follow along your ride here. So now, what's up next for you? I know you mentioned it's tough to fully train outside at this time of the year. What is triathlon season? When does that run? When do things really pick up for you?
Sure. So the North American season will pick up on, I think it's the first weekend of April. So I'll travel down to Oceanside, which is a little bit, maybe 30 minutes north of San Diego, on April 6th, I believe, whatever that Saturday is. It's about 6 weeks from this weekend. So that kicks off the season. It will probably be the most competitive 70.3 non-world championship field ever, just with how the sport's shaping up. And there's, more prize money at this race, which means all the big dogs are coming out. And it should be a really good test for the beginning of the season. I raced there last year. It was my first professional race. Definitely looking to improve on that result. I've learned a lot. The dynamics of racing at the amateur level, where I, to be honest, tended to be alone or off the front and trying to look over my shoulder, making sure no one comes and gets me. And at the professional level, I'm definitely much more in the race and, getting passed by people, trying to pass them back. So yeah, that'll be the first race here in April. And then I'll travel to Utah in May. I'll race there May 10th.
Is that St. George? Is that the St. George one?
Yep. St. George, Utah. Yeah, so it'll be my fourth time going back there. And unfortunately, it's the last year of that race. It's a beautiful, beautiful race, but I think there's a golf tournament the same weekend. So there's just too much going on. They've had it there probably 25 years. So fortunately, it's the last race there. And then I'll race locally here. There's a race in Boulder and then in Quebec. So those are the first four races. And then I think I'll be going to Boise, Idaho, to finish out July. So a lot of races going on this year. One of my goals was just to get a lot of reps in. Similar to how you guys talked about with football, there's a lot of progress to be made just by getting out there, getting some stuff on tape, learning what you can handle, learning about the tactics of the race, and trying to apply that to the next race. So this year, hoping to race a good amount of times and see how good I can get.
Well, Matt, we could probably talk for at least another half an hour. We just kind of scratched the surface here, but we like to keep the format to an hour. But I'll let Justin, if there's any last question you wanted to tackle, anything you wanted to throw Matt's way before we sign off here.
I just wanted to, I know we talked about it, but you don't just like waltz your way into becoming an aerospace engineer. Like, how did you manage? And again, I've known you a long time. I think I know the keys to this answer, but like, how did you manage to do these things at Penn State while also becoming an aerospace engineer? Like, how did you, like, what, I mean, I know how you literally did it, but like, what were some of the like self-discipline like methods that you used to just make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, time management is critical. I think for me, like, and prioritizing time, but if things are a priority to you, they'll automatically become a priority, and they'll be what you focus. So like, going out in college like wasn't something that I prioritized. Here and there, sure, I would have fun, but it wasn't. My Saturday mornings was getting my long run in before going to the game. So just yeah, surrounding yourself with the people that are going to help you achieve what you want to achieve, and making it enjoyable. Where for me, like, this weekend, for example, my Saturday was, an hour and a half swim with some of my best friends, followed by a 3.5 hour bike, again with some of my best friends. So I've surrounded myself with people where it is a social activity for me to go out on the bike. It hurts a lot more than maybe sitting on the couch would, but it's just always kind of been what my personality is like. And I think without it, I would be searching for something else to do. So maybe, yeah, I think time management is key, and getting things done first thing, or before your brain can convince you that you don't want to do it. Like for me, getting my hardest workout of the day done first is always critical. And then going into work, focusing and being present in whatever moment, and whatever you're doing, I think is critical. So yeah, when I'm at work, I'm at work, and when I'm training and not trying to think about work too much. So trying to, keep those separated and focus on what I'm doing at that time is important.
Well, I'd love to dive even more into the aerospace engineer aspect of your life, because that's just as interesting to me as the triathlon part is. But we do have to wrap things up here. But Matt, the last thing Justin and I wanted to mention here, you might have an involvement related to actually the Thon just wrapped up today. Did you participate in Thon while you were at Penn State?
I didn't.
You didn't have
It
a
was
lot of
one
free time, so.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I went. I never danced, but I went a couple times. It's such an incredible thing. Fun fact is that my aunt was actually the first winner of Thon. Thon used to have a winner,
Right? Yes.
and my aunt was on the swim team, and she partnered up with a cross country runner, and they stayed dancing the longest.
When it actually was a true dance marathon,
Right,
not what it's become today. That's awesome.
So endurance athletes, yeah, just kind of
runs in your family, huh? Yeah. So Thon 2025 wrapped up with 17.7 million, another record. So it just keeps chugging along, doing fantastic things. I know that was a great time while I was up at Penn State. I haven't been back to visit for a while, but I know Justin's probably ready to jump and be like, well, maybe just a few years you can go visit Natalie.
Yeah.
But Wilson has their mini-thon coming up this coming weekend, Friday into Saturday. So actually, I believe it was Matt's senior year that Justin and I broadcast the event.
Oh my gosh, 10 years ago.
Was it Matt's senior year, or was it the year after? I can't remember now. So
I'm old enough that it starts to run together.
I think it was Mini-thon 2015. So
Makes sense, yeah.
right around then. That was an interesting time. That was a cool event to be a part of. But so Wilson's event is coming up this Friday into Saturday. Community hours are from 6 to 9 p.m. So make sure you stop by the high school and take in the event and support the students running that Mini-thon event. Justin, you have anything else to say?
I don't. Thank you, Matt, for taking your time out of your weekend, and like you said, your busy schedule to come on and chat. It was great. Yeah, I know we get to catch up a little bit on text every now and then. It was awesome. Thank you.
No, I appreciate talking to both of you guys. You guys both were instrumental in getting me to to achieve what I did both in high school and after you guys set me up with habits that have led me to here. So I appreciate how much you guys follow my journey and how interested you are. And it was great coming on today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate the kind words and your willingness to join us here this evening. And like I said, we could easily talk another half an hour for sure, but we want to let you go, get back to, I'm sure, sitting on the couch, because that's something that I know you love to do. So, but no, really look forward to following you and this upcoming triathlon season, seeing your posts on social media. Definitely keep us posted, and I really hope that people start to follow your journey, and if anyone is able to reach out and help you, hopefully that's something that can come about as well. But we will we'll be focused on you, and wish you nothing but the best, and really appreciate you joining us tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah, it's been a great time.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. So we are going to wrap things up here just real quickly. Justin, I just want to mention that we don't really have a set date for our next show. We sometimes we'll do it in April or June.
For future Joe and Justin.
Yeah, it's just something that may or may not happen. Last year, I don't think we did anything until July or August, and that may be what happens. If something big happens that we need to have a Bulldog Hour, we'll schedule something. But as of right now, I don't know when episode 2 will happen. Obviously, once the summer rolls around, we'll have a much clearer picture of that. But if you're interested in hearing what Justin and I have to say, we are back on our regular podcast. The Joe Mays and JRAF show is every Sunday at 6:30, same time as we did Bulldog Hour this past year. And Justin and I are just talking, pro football. We're going to talk a little baseball, probably March Madness coming up.
So Eagles Super Bowl celebration part 2
we'll
next
continue,
week.
Yeah. So, that you can find us at jmnjrradio.com or all of our socials. Follow those accounts wherever. And yeah, thanks so much to Matt Guenter for joining us. That was awesome. Really great to have him on the program tonight. And if anyone is interested in following him, find him on Facebook. You can follow his page on there. And like you mentioned on Instagram, Matt Guenter, I've shared it in the Bulldog Hour story. I'll share it on my page so people can find him on Instagram where he's posting his professional updates. But I think that's it then, Justin. Yep. We're going to head out of here. This is the end of the 11th season premiere of the Bulldog Hour, and we will be back again in the coming months as we get closer and closer to Wilson football season. So for our guest, Matt Guenter, Justin Raffoff, I'm Joe Mays, and for the entire Wilson football program, until next time, remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.